Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our coverage of the ongoing crisis between Ukraine and Russia. We continue to get more information about certain troop movements that are taking place. Some rather interesting new developments have come in today that I'll talk about here very shortly. But first, we'll go over both the mainstream and not so mainstream media news headlines out of the region. So first, let's see here. Mail Online, top hardline Russian general warns Putin not to invade Ukraine and accuses him of criminal ... And that's Mail Online. So that is clickbait. And the reason that is clickbait, again, top hardline Russian general. So this is a 70-plus-year-old former general who was fired by Vladimir Putin, I think back in early 2000s or mid 2000s. But anyway, he is not a current general in the Russian armed forces, but again, has been in opposition to Putin for quite some time. So again, look at the clickbait and then delve into what you're actually reading before just reading those goofy headlines. Reuters, separatist leader says full-scale war in East Ukraine could break out at any time. Al Jazeera, Ukraine to unleash bloody hell on Russia if it invades. Here, this is out of TASS. Ukraine requests U.S. to deploy a THAAD missile defense system. That's the Theater High Altitude Air Defense System, designed to shoot down ballistic missiles. And Reuters, exclusive senior separatist urges Russia to send 30,000 troops to East Ukraine. And it continues. Now, there has been, again, some interesting deployments that have been taking place by Russia, and there's reportedly again new deployments happening as we speak. It would appear, and I had talked about this before, that I didn't think, and you would see this a lot in mainstream media, talking about certain Russian force deployments as if they were very close to the Ukrainian border. And specifically, what I had talked about in previous episodes was this here. So this generally is the 144th Mechanized Division, which is based just north of Yelnya and southeast of Smolensk. And a lot of times the media would show this military base as being a tank formation in which could launch against the Ukrainian border. So again, this is not what a force looks like that is getting ready to invade another nation state. Again, this is well over 100 miles from the border. They're packed in a manner that is made for vehicle maintenance, and this is just not what a force that's getting ready to launch an invasion looks like. Now, this area reportedly has expanded in terms of the amount of vehicles that have been deployed, and you can see obviously tents and everything like that being set up in this area as well. But again, just much too far away from the Ukrainian border. They would have to be placed on railheads or tank transporters and or armored infantry vehicle transporters, and then transported closer to the Ukrainian border, probably 10 to 20 miles from the Ukrainian border, where they were going to set up their phase lines to conduct offensive operations if that decision is made. But specifically, to include the 145th Mech Division was elements of the 90th Tank Division based out of the 41st Combined Arms Army. And reportedly, that force has also been moved into this base. Now, what we're hearing is this, is over the last few days, there's been a very low cloud cover over this area, so it's been very difficult to get imagery analysis over this area. But they've just, within the last 24 hours, conducted imagery analysis over this base, and a lot of this equipment is now gone. So, as I'd said before, we would expect that this equipment would be moved and further forward deployed to other areas before any said operation were to take place. So we're now seeing a lot of this equipment being moved out of this base near Yelna and other bases near Smolensk, and are being forward deployed to kind of that tri-border area near Belarus and Ukraine and Russia. Furthermore, we're hearing reports that the First Guards Tank Army has also been further forward deployed to specifically this area here, and that is west of Kursk. And the thought process is that quite possibly major elements of the First Guards Tank Army has been staging near Kursk and could be utilized in a offensive mechanized drive from basically the Kursk Kiev highway. And again, this area is just optimum for tank warfare, and I would expect that this area, we would in fact see large offensive operations by the Russian military. Trying to get in here where you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So this area is just again west of Kursk, inside of Ukraine itself, and we'll zoom in and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So just perfect for tank warfare. So, this is taken in the summer. Obviously, it's winter. There's snow on the ground. Everything is frozen. A lot of this is not dead, but there's no more foliage on these, what you would call them, almost like hedgerows, so to speak. But all this is gone, and then just beautiful, flat, open space for mechanized warfare. The good stuff that Russians absolutely love to, how they like to wage war. And very, very interesting tidbit of information when we hear about now both the First Guards Tank Army being deployed west of Kursk, in and around Kursk, and possibly being deployed more towards the Ukrainian border, and then obviously those forces southeast of Smolensk now being deployed very, very close to the Ukrainian border. Another issue to note, it also sounds like that Su-25 SM, these are upgraded Su-25 ground attack jets. These have been deployed more than 7,000 kilometers from Siberia to air bases in Belarus. And specifically, the air base is over here kind of towards western Belarus. I got to find it. I'm not going to look at it all day for that. I should have been better prepared. However, I'm not. But anyway, those Su-25s have indeed been deployed to forward air bases within 30 miles of the Belarusian Ukraine border. And again, that's pretty significant when you take into account that obviously there's been other air formations that have been forward deployed, such as Su-34 fullbacks and other assets as well. And then you take that into account with the recent deployments of all these units I talked about in the previous episode, of these battalion combat teams that have been battalion tactical groups that have been deployed to Belarus. And but again, you're still kind of getting conflicting information depending on which media outlet you watch. I just heard an excerpt by General Keane out of Fox News speaking about his intel group didn't think the Russians were going to move, and the reasons behind that were twofold. One was he didn't believe, or they didn't believe, the force construct was correct, meaning we're seeing elements of a hodgepodge of formations being deployed to the Ukrainian border and Belarus. Now, I understand that, I get that, but at the same time, I don't think some of these Russian military units are fully capable deploying in mass, meaning, so for instance, the entire 90th Tank Division or the entire 144th Mechanized Division or other units within the Russian military. I just don't think they have the staffing right now that would allow that to occur. So they are having to take a more proactive stance in creating these battalion tactical groups out of especially some of these motorized rifle brigades and tank brigades, and then hodgepodging them together. So I think that's done out of more of a necessity than out of any sort of tactics that they're currently employing. Obviously, I think if they could employ entire divisional level units, if they were at that capacity, they probably would. But it looks like they're preparing to go to war with the military they have, not the one that they absolutely desire. Another issue that General Keane pointed out was that the Russian society has not been properly prepared for war. Now, I think he is internalizing his view of American society, of the society in the West, and kind of projecting that on Russian society. And I think that's a mistake. I think it's a miscalculation. I don't think they think the same way as we in the West do, as they do in the East within the context of Russia. I do not believe they have to prepare their society, so to speak, for what's to come. I think there's a lot less preparation required on the part of Russia media, and I think they have been doing that to some extent. But again, the same level of preparation that occurred, let's say, during the Second Gulf War, where the United States knew absolutely that was going to kick off. Don't think that is required within the Russian society. And at the same time, I think it's just different. These people have gone through a tremendous amount of conflicts that us in the West can't even really get our head around. I mean, what happened in World War II to Russia is nothing compared to what in retrospect the average American saw and dealt with during World War II. I mean, in World War II, largely the United States civilian population really kind of maintained its normal way of life. In a lot of ways, it actually improved for the United States during World War II. Russia, completely different issue. And it's not just World War II. I mean, the Great Winter War, we saw that. And just a host of conflicts that have happened in Russia. And then you also have to look at just the neighborhood that Russia lives in. I mean, they border China, they border North Korea, they share borders with the Middle East, and I think just a completely different mindset in terms of the average Russian's outlook on foreign affairs than what you see in the West. So again, I do not believe that preparation is a great issue for Russian society in terms of preparing for conflict. So I think that's a mistake. And again, the whole concept of the force deployments, I just think it's a necessity, and they're doing what they have to do to prepare for said operation because it's a requirement. But that's where we're kind of sitting right now. Again, very interesting tidbit with the deployment of those forces southeast of Smolensk. Now they are deploying in the Bryansk area of Russia, and again that borders the border with Ukraine. So it looks like the preparatory phases of Russian forces are really focused now on moving towards forward deployed areas and possibly looking to cross those phase lines into Ukraine at some point. But again, still 50-50 on this, whether it's going to happen. But the preparation is definitely there for a possible operation. Have a good day, everybody.